So, while white people LARP, Black Lives Matter becomes a respected political action committee that supports the likes of Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and belittles Joe Biden. This is the problem, okay? A lot of people don't understand this. Technically speaking, if I looked different, I could call myself Latino, as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez states, because I'm like a quarter Latino. Now, I guess I'm like an eighth Latino, okay? But the point is, right now, if I could get away with it, I would, okay? Because the fact of the matter is, this is the problem with the way white people see things. You have a lot of white activist groups, okay? But nobody is really loyal to one another. There's a lot of infighting, etc., 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 okay? There's a lot more infighting in the white community, the white activist community. And I'm including what would be considered white extremists in that, okay? And the reason why is because a lot of these groups, these so-called extremist groups, are not. They're fraternal orders, some of them, and things of that nature. But also, that is what has happened to the white community, is these have become white activist groups, because that's all there is. Just like with the black activists, it's the same thing. If you're going to consider the Black Panther Party to be black activists, you had better consider the Ku Klux Klan to be white activists. One is a heck of a lot more peaceful than the other. And one is not militarized, the other one is, okay? And you can make your assumptions at which is which. So, somebody had stated, and I respect the fact that the person is ignorant and does not understand America, or American demographics, or American politics, etc. Because they come from a foreign country where they do not have black people per se. Okay, they don't understand, for example, if you just ignore BLM, it'll go away. It doesn't work that way. BLM is a symptom of the same toleration of the same terror tactics that have increased incrementally since the 1860s. Okay? So what you have is a group of people, a subgrouping of the U.S. population that has slowly gained in size and has slowly gained in their aggression and has slowly gained in their ability to manipulate politics. So Black Lives Matter has gone from being... Black Lives Matter, first off, Black Lives Matter is the most dangerous group right now in the United States that poses the number one threat to the United States of America, as the United States of America. And people will go, oh, well, it's the rich people that created these organizations. Look at the people that started Black Lives Matter. Were they rich? No. They're rich now because they mooched all the money off of the masses. Okay? Kind of like Martin Luther King did. Kind of like other people in the Nation of Islam did. Kind of like Jesse Jackson did. Kind of like Louis Farrakhan did. That's how these people do things, okay? But the difference between BLM and anyone else, like the Nation of Islam didn't try to be socially acceptable. They tried to be black. Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton didn't try to be socially acceptable. They pandered specifically to black people. Now, Black Lives Matter is expressly black. I mean, they come out and they are who they are. That is what they're showing. This is who we are. This is what we're about. We want to shut shit down, as they say. And that's what they've done. They've shut down major highways. They've shut down whole city halls. They've taken over whole swaths of land in Seattle. That's who they are. But what makes them more dangerous is they are socially acceptable. They are legitimized by the radical left in this country and by the moderate left and by the right, or what people are calling the right. Remember, the first person to legitimize Black Lives Matter was actually like to legitimize them in a political sense and do something for them politically was Donald Trump when he passed that safe policing whatever nonsense. In response, it was an executive order that curtailed police action against criminals in response to the George Floyd riots, okay? So the first political official to truly legitimize Black Lives Matter by saying, if you act like maniacs, I'm going to do things for you, was Donald Trump, okay? And there is some evidence now that Donald Trump claims to regret not calling out calling the military out to smash Black Lives Matter and things like that. Like I was saying, he should have done, and not declaring martial law and things like that. But the fact of the matter is, it's too little too late, and he doesn't regret doing it because that would have been the right thing for the country, which it would have been. He regrets not doing it because he recognizes, like I told him, that's why he lost. That's why he lost. He lost because he was listening to his radical leftist advisors. Okay? Trump put radical leftists and traitors all throughout his cabinet and in the military, in charge of the military and in charge of Homeland Security. That is who he put in charge of the whole country, were radical leftists and Zionists. Zionist traitors and leftist traitors. That is why you had some of the things like the First Step Act come out, which expanded the Step Down program, which has flooded the country with violent criminals that are joining the Black Lives Matter. See, Black Lives Matter is smart in a way. And when people say they're not a communist revolution, they're playing it up like they are a communist revolution. They're a cultural Marxist revolution. They're not truly communist. But remember, the communists played it up in two ways. They had people that were, in and out of the prisons, the violent agitators. And then they had the people that were the professionals. And that's what BLM is starting to do, is starting to create this professional activism professional activism side to it, so that they can get away with saying, oh, we're socially acceptable. They don't declare, they never have said stop rioting. In fact, they've said the exact opposite. They've encouraged rioting, they've encouraged looting, they've encouraged blocking highways, they've encouraged all these things. And the fact of the matter is, they've referred to themselves as Marxists on national television. And the thing is, this is the thing. The dude that told me I was like you, I used to talk about crime statistics. I barely talk about crime statistics. In fact, I've tried to change the format of this channel time and time again, but my country is dying, and you don't save the country by ignoring that the country is dying. That's the truth, okay? I am happy that Biden is in office. I think Biden has done far more to curtail this mess than Trump did, because Trump is practically the reason it happened. Practically the reason it happened is Donald Trump. Okay? By appeasing this group of people at the behest of Jared Kushner, who is a bloodthirsty Zionist and a radical leftist. So that's what you have going on. What we're experiencing now is not the Biden administration, which has further legitimized Black Lives Matter, but has also done things. This is the beauty of the Biden administration, like I've stated. Biden actually is playing 4D chess or 3D chess or whatever the hell they were saying back when Trump was in office. What Biden is doing is he's giving visual fluff and paying lip service to the gays and to the blacks. But in reality, he's arming the police. He's giving resources to the police that they did not have under Trump. And he's working to help crack down on illegal weapons and things of that nature to help curtail the problems that we had under Trump and get rid of it. If I was president, I would take a more direct approach and recognize the need for the declaration of martial law. However, I don't know what Biden does. And also the other problem is I do know that the United States military is infested with minority criminal gangs. There was a gentleman, and I was gonna make this as a separate video, but I might as well do it now. There was a gentleman that stated that whites make up more gangs. There's more white gangs than there are non-white gangs. Now, this is true if you include Eastern European gangs or Jewish gangs into the mix and Jewish gangs into the mix. But no, the predominant amount of criminal gangs in the United States are African American, Latino, and Asian. Once you include the Jews into it, because you have to remember, the Russian mafia is not the Russian mafia. It is predominantly Jewish. Okay? Most, quote, Eastern European organized crime is not Eastern European, it's Jewish. And that's what people turn a blind eye to. So unless you're including all of that in the mix, it is obvious that the majority of criminal gangs in the United States, the largest majority, I think, if I'm not mistaken, is Latino gangs, made up of predominantly illegal migrants. I think that is the largest of the gangs. But what you need to take note of, and I've pointed this out in many videos, if you look at crime statistics, even though Latin Americans make up the majority of gangs in the United States and outnumber blacks quite a bit, they are not responsible for anywhere near as much crime as African Americans are. And the thing is, too, you have to understand, black gangs include Haitian and Jamaican gangs and other Caribbean gangs, like Afro-Caribbean gangs, which are also very popular in the United States. So a lot of the foreigners that don't know the facts, and a lot of the people that are in the United States that just don't know the facts, are practically just idiotic. Like, for example, when I was in school for criminal justice, some people considered motorcycle gangs to be white gangs. Motorcycle gangs, for the most part, are not exclusively white. Okay? Some of them are exclusively Latino, some of them are exclusively black, but many of the motorcycle gangs that are majority white or predominantly white are not exclusively white. And that's an important thing to remember. Now, included in white gangs, what I found interesting is included in white gangs is the Ku Klux Klan, which is not a gang, it's a fraternal organization. Okay? That's what I find interesting. So you have certain things that are being declared things that they are not. You can't declare the Ku Klux Klan a street gang when it's a fraternal organization like the Knights of Columbus or the Freemasons or the Elks or one of those. It's not a street gang, and it is not a criminal street gang. It is a fraternal organization. So the point that I would make to anybody that's claiming that if you ignore Black Lives Matter, it just goes away. It'll just go away magically. Black Lives Matter will just magically go away. This situation has not disappeared in over 100 years. And this all started with the abolition of slavery. This is one of the reasons, and I'm not saying that the abolition of slavery was wrong. I support the abolition of slavery. I don't think slavery is a good thing. In fact, I think what the problem was with slavery is it was very bad at undercutting white labor and making it so, and it reduced industrialization of the South. It reduced agricultural productivity. It reduced a lot of the things. It didn't increase these things, and any idiot would know this. But everybody wants to claim that slavery, despite the fact that blacks made up about 10% of the country, so they built the country. Are you kidding me? That's the presumption by people like Donald Trump. And I'm not saying that black people didn't play an important role in certain aspects of this country. I mean, when you're really being honest, this is what gets me so mad with black history. You have legitimate black scientists, okay, that really did do things. But they're not the ones that are being talked about. Instead, even George Washington Carver, who is one of the most brilliant black scientists of all time, he's not given credit for anything besides peanut butter. But meanwhile, they're going to talk about fake stuff that other people did that makes no sense. They accredit peanut butter to him, which was not discovered by him. They start making up nonsense about clocks being the first clock made in the New World was made by a black guy. So apparently all of the English and Germans, the Germans especially, remember the Germans, who makes better clocks than the Germans, okay? So you have this idiotic presumption that black people created the first clock in the country, the first stoplight in the country, the first helicopter was allegedly made by a black person. Not true. It wasn't even made by a Soviet. Leni Riefenstahl was the test pilot for the first helicopter in where? Germany. And people don't know who Leni Riefenstahl is. Leni Riefenstahl is the reason that people say Walt Disney was a Nazi. Leni Riefenstahl was the director of not the majority, but the director of a good number of National Socialist propaganda films, was Hitler's personal pilot, and was good friends with Walt Disney. Walt Disney was not a Nazi. Walt Disney was friends with a Nazi. That's where you get the whole Walt Disney was a Nazi myth from. Walt Disney was an anti-communist, but being an anti-communist does not make one a Nazi. Okay? That's what you have to understand. Walt Disney was proud of the European history and liked creating movies from European fairy tales and things of that nature and wonderful documentaries, but he was also proud of American history as well and American folklore as well. He did all those Daniel Boone and all that nonsense. And he also did The Song of the South, which actually was a great, great movie at mainstreaming black culture. It was not racist as people make it out to be. It was mainstreaming black cultural history. But people are too ignorant and too stupid to understand what Walt Disney was doing because they think in a certain way, and they never put anything to waste at trying to make white people feel bad about themselves. But ultimately, what I'm trying to explain in this video is simply ignoring a problem is not going to make it go away. LARPing is not going to make it go away. Creating a political action committee could help. The problem is getting enough white people together to actually form something that's cohesive, that actually agrees enough, like Black Lives Matter, without the violence, to actually push for a certain political agenda, like even just getting rid of affirmative action. That would be at the top of what I would say. Getting rid of affirmative action and making sure social programs were applied fairly to all people in the country and were no longer given to anyone that's not a U.S. citizen. There you go. There's a platform for you. Try and get 10 white people to agree on that. Okay, so what's the platform of the Political Action Committee? They would support any candidate that A, wants to ban affirmative action, B, wants to make sure social programs are given adequately or are given equitably to all people, regardless of their race or their original national origin. As long as they're U.S. citizens, they should be able to get these social programs. And 3, would bar all illegal migrants and non-citizens from getting social programs in the United States or free education or anything like that. Okay, that's the whole political action committee. Try and get 10 white people to agree on that. It sounds reasonable, right? I just came up with that right off the top of my head. Wow, ain't that amazing? Okay, but the thing is, you're not going to get enough white people to agree on it because they're LARPing. They want to say, look at me, I'm based stick man, and I'm this dude, and I'm that dude, and look at me. Okay, and that's the biggest problem. There was some idiot that commented in my my video a while back and said LARPing gets shit done. Yeah, LARPing gets shit done. It gets you put in prison. That's what it does. It's really, really ridiculous. This is one of the reasons I tried to escape to Latin America before COVID and I didn't make it, is because this country, the white people of this country, are slowly but surely giving away their birthright. Okay? Their ancestors founded this country. They conquered the indigenous people of this country. They established this country. Okay? And the white people of this country are slowly but surely giving away everything their ancestors worked for. And that's all for this video.